I am the law. Let's look at Dredd, you guys. Hey, what's up you guys? Imperial Nick here, and today we are going to discuss one of my favorite action movies. Today we are talking about Dredd. No, not that piece of shit Stallone BS from the 90s. That was a joke of a movie, and had such a negative, consequential effect that it hurt the movie I'm talking about. So a little backstory on Judge Dredd itself. Judge Dredd is one of my favorite comics from the UK, and what's cool about Dredd is it's been out since like the 70s or 80s, and they've never done a reset on it. So the Judge ages, and the stories continue to progress, and you don't have any of those stupid DC or Marvel resets where they kill a character and then they reset it because it's a different universe or a different timeline or any of that BS. And the story behind Dredd is Dredd is judge, jury, and executioner. All judges are, and everyone lives in megacities, essentially. And megacities are giant walled defensive cities, walling out the fucking wasteland or the cursed lands that are around it, which is the irradiated wastelands of what is left of the United States. And these cities are huge, like the size of states, and you got the judges defending them. But in 2012, a movie came out called Dredd, or Dredd 3D. And I have my notebook because someone criticized the way I pronounce Furiosa's actress's name, so this is my reference guide. So in the movie, Dredd is played by Karl Urban, who also played John Grimm in Doom. And we're going to talk about Doom because I have issues with Doom. I have a lot of issues with Doom. We'll get into the Doom movie when we get there. And he also played a ton of characters on Xena Warrior Princess, actually, which she would be on my top 5 badass females of television. But he played a bunch of characters on Xena, and I believe he was in Two Towers and Return of the King as one of the writers of Rohan. And he's actually a pretty good actor. He's from New Zealand. I enjoy his movies. But Dredd really, he does a great job of Dredd. He does a great job in Dredd. And his co-star is Olivia Thirlby. She plays Judge Anderson, and she is a judge in training. So Judge Dredd has taken Judge Anderson, who is a psychic too and can read minds and stuff, to go investigate a series of murders at the Peachtree's block. And what the blocks are is it's a giant, like, mini town within the megacity. So a block is like 200 or 250 stories tall. It houses thousands of people. There's work there, there is shops, there's places to live. And as it turns out, Mama, the main bad guy in this movie, yes, we have a female bad guy, had ordered these murders. So she sees the judge is there, one of her dudes get captured, and she decides she's going to lock down Peachtree's. That's the name of the block, is Peachtree's. So she decides she's going to lock down Peachtree's and offer a huge reward for anyone who can kill the judges. That's what really kicks off this movie, is her locking down Peachtree's, and you got Judge Anderson, her first day of training. You got Judge Dredd, this gritty veteran of the force who is just an absolute unstoppable badass, trying to make their way from the bottom floors of Peachtree's to the very top penthouse area where Mama resides. Now, I'm not too big into the cinematography side of movies like Lumberjack Nick is, and on Wednesday he will be having a video breaking down the lighting he did in his last video, and I'll link his last video right up there. To me, a movie is about story. It's about, for action movie, it has to have those one-liners that I can remember, and it has to be quotable, and I also want to see some sort of character growth. And you see that with Judge Anderson throughout the movie. At the very beginning, you know, the dead body's on the floor, she's a bit squeamish, she's not really confident in the actions going forward. And she shows some hesitancy as they're going through and they're killing all the henchmen and they're killing all the bad guys with their lawgiver guns. But as they continue to go up, as they rise higher up in the building, Judge Anderson becomes more confident, she becomes more strong, she begins to develop as a character and develop this kind of grittiness to her that you see with Dredd. But Dredd doesn't grow. There's no character growth with Dredd throughout the entire movie. Judge Dredd is Judge Dredd. He always is, always has been, and always shall be just Judge Dredd. His character growth is pretty much non-existent throughout the entire movie. It's Anderson you watch for the character growth. And the way the filmmakers developed her character growth, where it mirrors them rising through the actual Peachtree's block and heading towards Mama. This will be the only spoiler alert you guys get. But eventually Anderson actually gets captured by Mama's gang. And it was at that moment when she's captured and the bad guy that they've been hauling around with them, the guy that was captured that Mama wanted dead because he knew her whole operation, goes to kill her. And the thing about the lawgiver gun is it's got a DNA scanner, and if your DNA doesn't match, it'll just explode. So it blows off his hand. Anderson kills him, picks up some weapons off some other bad guys, and she just goes absolute madness. This is where you see the full arc of her character growth come together, and she is clearing hallways, clearing rooms. She's going toe-to-toe with all the henchmen of Mama, without the support of Dredd, without the help of Dredd. And I think that's a really important thing to make a story interesting, is some sort of character growth. There just has to be some character growth. And with Judge Anderson, you definitely see that. Even up to the point where at the very end, when she's talking with, well, she's reading his mind, of Mama's computer whiz guy, she learns that he was actually a victim. He was forced into his position, and she tells Dredd that she is letting him go. Dredd gets mad, and she says, dude, it doesn't matter, whether I pass or fail this test anyways, because I already failed it when I lost my main weapon. And she knows this. She knows that she's not going to pass. She didn't meet the standards of requirements of the test parameters that were set out from her from the very beginning. But this doesn't mean she gives up. This doesn't mean that she stops. She continues to go, she continues to grow, and she continues to become a badass. And if we got the sequels, remember how earlier I said the Stallone version hurt this version? So the Stallone version had such a bad reputation behind it because Stallone sucks, and his Dredd movie was cartoonish and stupid. Because of that reputation and some terrible marketing decisions made by the production company, it didn't box office very well, and they were planning a trilogy and we didn't get it. Now, if we had gotten that trilogy and we could have truly seen Judge Anderson hit peak badassness, she probably would have been on my list from Friday, which I'll link right up there, because she was an amazing character. She was a badass towards the end, but you didn't really get to see too much of that until she hit the end of the character arc towards the very end of the movie. Now, I would have liked to have seen the trilogy. I would have liked to have seen the adventures of Dredd and Anderson as they go around Mega City 1 serving justice and the law. What is it that I truly love about this movie? And hands down, I have to say, it is an action movie without a love story. And that's why I very clearly said at the very beginning of this video that it is one of my favorite action movies. I just want to see action. I don't want the love story. I don't want any of that. I don't want the slow points. I want it to just grow. I want the action to get more intense. I want the action to get more insane. I want the action to get crazier. But I don't really need the love story. There's no relationship building between Judge Dredd and Judge Anderson. They are there to survive, especially once Peachtree's gets locked down. And they are there to fight, and they are there to be judges. There's no romantic affection between the two of them. They're just being awesome, and they're just fighting. And that brings me to my next point. If I'm watching an action movie, I want action. And I want constant action. I'm watching an action movie, I want constant action. A really good example of this is Hardcore Henry. We'll do a video on Hardcore Henry because Hardcore Henry is probably one of the greatest action movies ever made. But Dredd does a really good job of this, of just non-stop buildup of action that continues to grow. The action sequences get larger, the action sequences get more insane. At one point in time, Mama has like 3 20mm Vulcan cannons just tearing apart peach trees. It's absolute just insanity, and I believe the movie was released in 3D, so that would have actually been pretty cool to see in 3D, but I didn't actually see the movie in theaters. Though I do have good news about Dredd. Dredd, they are in discussions right now. Well, I guess the last update was in 2017, so we will see. But they're working on a TV series called Judge Dredd Mega City 1, which I think would be really, really awesome. Hopefully Olivia comes back to play Anderson, because I would really like to see her character growth, and especially if they go the comic book route and they don't reset anything, and it's just, so it was 2012, so it was 8 years ago, so she'll be an 8-year veteran when this show came out, if it came out in 2020. And I want to see her character after 8 years of being a judge. I want to see, you know, I mean, Judge Dredd, of course, being awesome, but there's not really much for him to grow. He's Judge Dredd. That's what he does. But it would be awesome to see Anderson's growth in this time period and see how she is handling it in stark comparison to Dredd. Now, Dredd is mechanical and cold, and he is the law, and Anderson is a little bit more lenient, and that might have been because of her psychic abilities, her ability to actually see the crimes or why they were committed and see the more humanitarian side of it, so we don't just have Dredd going through peach trees killing everyone. You have to have Anderson in order for this to work, because if it wasn't for Anderson, Dredd would have just destroyed the entire peach trees, and you can see that attitude at the very end. Mama has a thing on her heart, and if her heart stops beating, all the C4 in her penthouse goes out, leveling peach trees. So Dredd does the logical thing and drops her off the top floor of peach trees to the bottom in hopes that the signal from the heart rate monitor wouldn't be able to reach the explosives at the top of peach trees. That gives you any idea of what we're dealing with when it comes to Dredd. So if I have to recommend Dredd, what would I give it to you guys out of 10 stars? You know, because you get really good character growth with Judge Anderson, because you get the true gritty awesomeness of Dredd, and he never takes off his mask, but that's more of a comic book nitpick than anything, as well as a good amount of non-stop action that continues to grow, and again, that parallel between Anderson's growth as a character and them rising through peach trees, to me, is just something you don't see as much in cinema as I would like to see. You do see it in a lot of other movies, but I think it's really well played in Dredd, and I think they did a really good job casting for Dredd. I would give it a solid 7 out of 10 for an action movie. It's fun to watch. It doesn't have a lot of substance to it, but it's an action movie, so I guess I'll give it an 8. I'll give that an 8. 8 out of 10. The slow motion stuff was cool, but it felt a little overdone by the end, so that might actually be why I knock it down a couple of points. Yeah, that would be why. So, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 is what I give Dredd. Well, I thank you guys for jumping into the deep dive of Judge Dredd with me. Wednesday, Lumberjack Nick is going to be uploading his video that we kind of discussed a little bit ago. Friday, we'll have a video where both of us are going to do a review and kind of a breakdown on a movie. So you'll get me analyzing the kind of the story and character development of the movie, and then Lumberjack Nick is going to go through on more technical cinematic lighting and shot style, because that's more of what his strengths are, whereas my strengths are more, you know, character and story based. So we're going to bring that together in an awesome review of a pretty badass fantasy sci-fi movie. So make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you guys know exactly when we upload. Again, our upload schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday, I upload a solo video. Wednesday, Lumberjack Nick uploads a solo video. And then Friday, we do our cooperative video. So make sure you guys are definitely subscribed, and I will catch you all on the flip side. Bye!